Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how using Python to calculate your daily expenses. In our program you are going to create a function that calculates total expenses based on your input. Let's get started. First, we write the code without functions. For example, we define a variable to store total expenses like this. We assign 0. We can use input function to ask for expenses, first item, food cost, and use input function. In parentheses, we can write every text to explain to user. We need to convert that input into a number, so we use casting float, convert to float, and store in food cost. To calculate total expense, add this item to total expenses. If we want to get another item, we can type like this, transport cost, and get it from user with input function. We can type like this and casting, and repeat this line to add a transport cost to the total expenses. This line and this line is same. If we want to add more cost, we need to repeat this code. This is not good practice, right? If we write the same lines again, it can lead to mistakes and make our code hard to read. We need a better way to manage this. Functions help us avoid repeating code and allow us to organize our code better and reuse it whenever we need. In Python, we define a function like this. We use keyword def and name of function and parentheses. In parentheses, we use parameter and colon. After enter, we write code to execute. As I said before, every function has an input called parameter or argument, does an operation and gives an output. This line we call in Python comment. You can add a comment by using hashtag. Comments are super helpful because they allow you to explain your code. Anyone reading your code can understand what the function does. Let's jump into our main topic, how to calculate expenses with function. First thing we'll do is create a function called calculate expenses. This function takes a list of expenses as an input and return the total amount. Here's what our function will look like. Def, name of function, and in parentheses we type parameter to have list of expenses. To calculate total, we use built-in sum function, total expense, and sum function. In parentheses, we use expense list to add up all the expenses. At the end, we return total. It's output of our function. This function returns total amount. Pretty simple, right? Now let's test our function. We'll create a list of expenses and pass it to our calculate expenses function like this. My expenses is a list of expenses, so we type number. To use our function, we type name of function and in parentheses list of expenses. We can store total in variable and print it. We run this code, total expense are printed out for us. Let's get our expenses from the user. We can use input function to ask for expenses. We write the function to enter expenses like this, def keyword function and name of function, enter expense, and in parentheses we can use a category, for example food, transport, or anything. we get every item and category cost. Input function to get every item from user. This line explains to user what we want. We need to convert this item to number with casting to float number, update our code, and return cost. This function asks for cost of a category. It returns the cost with input function and casting to the number. Now we can use it many times. Add new expenses easily. By calling this function, we can easily track our expenses without repeating code. This makes our program easier to use and understand. Let's allow the user to enter multiple expenses instead of a fixed list. This is a repeating task. We can use a loop. In Python, we'll learn one type of loop before. In the last video, I show you the for loop. The for loop is good when we know how many times to repeat, but now we don't know. We want to ask the user to enter expenses one by one until they say they are finished. So we will use a while loop. The while loop keeps going until a condition is met. In our program, we want to keep asking for expenses until the user says finish or exit. Here's how we set it up in Python. While true. This is called infinite loop. Every code we type here, repeated. We need a way to stop the loop, right? For this, we use an if statement. You already know how it works. In the if condition, we check user enters exit. If they do, we use break to stop the loop. If they don't, the loop continues. Here's how it looks. Every item, user input, enter expense or type exit to finish. We use if statement to check and stop our loop. This statement true, stop our loop. For this, in Python, we use break, a way to stop the loop in Python. And we calculate total expenses. Here's the update code. We want a list, so we define a new list to store user expense. In our loop, we get every item if expense not equal exit added to our list. We need to convert it to number. To add item to the list, we use append method. Which item? Expense. We collect expenses list. After this while loop, use calculate expenses. We exit from the while block and use this function. This line calculate expenses. We want to store this item, for example total. In the last line we print it. We create two functions to calculate and get expenses from the user. We use while loop to repeat. Use this function. Let's run it and see the output. Enter expose or type exit to finish. Until we don't enter exit, the loop continues. If user enters exit, the loop stops. We type exit, total expense. Now we can easily track expenses in a loop. Enter as many expenses as you need and calculate total. That's it for today. We cover how to create a simple expense tracker in Python. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Thanks for watching. I see you in the next video.